All right, this is the second in my Bible study on Mere Christianity. And again, I want to start off by reiterating what I talked about in my first, because this is foundational. That in Christianity we believe in the Trinity, where we have one God in three persons: the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. In this video, I'm going to talk about attributes and characteristics of God, and all these attributes and characteristics of God apply to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit equally. All three of them are all powerful, all knowing, all the omniscience. But so that's foundational. Let's talk about some important terms here in Christianity. This is Christianity 101. This is just basic Christianity. Every Christian should know these attributes of God in order to not be committing blasphemy and teaching heresy, right? We got omniscience. God is omniscient. He is all-knowing. There's nothing he doesn't know, nothing outside his knowledge. He's all-knowing. He's the supreme being. You know. God is has the attribute of omnipotence. He's all-powerful. There's nothing he cannot do. Well, he can't contradict his own nature, but there's nothing he cannot do. And every one of these, we could quote Bible passages to back these up. These are theological terms to describe God, this supreme being that would probably be common to Christianity and Judaism, obviously, and in Islam. Which is curious. No other God that humans have ever had have these qualities, because there was more than one God. This is the God, the foundation of everything. There is one God. This was, a lot of people say this is revolutionary, and Moses came up with this, but some people make the case that monotheism, which is believing in one God, it was the first religion. I want to make a video about that someday. But anyhow, God is omnibenevolent, or has the attribute of omnibenevolence, which means supremely good. God cannot do evil, because evil is a negation of good. But we don't need to get into philosophy. This is just basic things you need to know. God is all-knowing. He's all-powerful. He's supremely good. Alright, we're going to list some characteristics. I'm going to go through these real quick, because I don't want to bore anybody. I just want to... These are foundational, that we know about the Godhead. If you're a Christian, you need to know what God you're worshiping, right? So, some of these characteristics of God is his aseity, which means God's self-sufficient, independent. He doesn't need us. He existed before there was any creation. He's outside. He's not dependent on anything. God is eternal. God's been here forever. Before time even began, God created time. Before time even began, God was. The Son was. The Son existed before time, before creation, eternally. And the Holy Spirit existed with the Father and the Son eternally. Another characteristic of God is goodness. God is the standard of what is good. Graciousness. God is charitable, merciful. It's important we understand God's oneness. Jesus said, I and the Father are one. God is simple. There's a lot we could say about that. God is, okay, sovereignty. Like a king. God is sovereign. He's in complete control of the universe. God is holiness. Another attribute is His holiness. God is totally separate from sin and corruption. And what a beautiful God this paints a picture of. People trying to say that the God of the Christians came from the pagans. There's no way. This doesn't even come close. I mean, the difference, think about it, between our God, Jehovah, and the gods of the pagans. Vastly. I mean, they weren't holy. They weren't sovereign. There wasn't no oneness. They were not gracious. They could be gracious sometimes and not gracious other times. They were obviously myths. This is not a myth. This is the real God. God's characteristics is His eminence. He is in the world. There's no place He is not. It's important that we understand the characteristic of Yahweh, our God, is immutability. He cannot change. He's the same today, tomorrow, forever. And there's a lot to say about that. This is just important that we know what God we're worshiping. What's the character of God, right? Impeccability. God is unable to sin. Like this said. Jesus never sinned. He cannot sin. Impeccable. Perfect. Impeccable. It's important to understand God's incomprehensibility. Right? God is incomprehensible. And that's ironic that I'm saying this because I'm trying to explain how God is, and this is the way God is. But in the end, we all understand, or should understand, that God is incomprehensible, and you're not going to understand it. It's not a reason not to believe in it, that you're never going to totally understand. But with the scriptures, we get a glimpse of our wonderful God here. Another characteristic of God, incorporeality. He is spirit. Veracity. He is truth. Jesus said, I am the truth. And we cannot forget wrath. He hates everything opposed to His will. These are just some of the characteristics of God. It's important that we understand about the character of God.